founder of Financial Staples. And that's basically a virtual fee-only financial planning firm. And so I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia, but I help clients all over the country. And so what I do, a lot of people don't understand what's financial planning. But I really just help clients like understand where they are financially, what are their goals that they like to accomplish, like where do they want to be, and then help them bridge the gap to, how to get there, essentially.
Right. That's great. I love it. Thank you for that. It looks like we're getting a little bit of feedback on our end. I don't know if you happen to have the window open in a couple of different devices or anything like that, or if there's anything weird going on your end.
Yeah, I don't hear any feedback. Let me see.
Okay, maybe it's just on my end. We'll keep trucking along. So I love that. And it's just so cool that we're able to come together around the similar beliefs that everybody deserves to have a fulfilling work environment, and that everyone has a worth, an innate worth. And so I can't wait to talk more about this. So anyone who saw the flyer for today saw that our topic is a money mindset. And this question is every bit as much for me as it is for the audience. But would love to hear your thoughts on what is a money mindset? How do you define that?
Yeah, so I define money mindset as really just our attitudes and beliefs around money. And so I mean, and that really, that influences how we manage our money and the decisions that we make around money. So if you think about it, we're all a product of, just our environments that we grew up in, the lessons that we learned from our parents, the friends and coworkers and the colleagues that we hang out with, what we watch on TV, what we absorb through social media, what we read. And so all of those things influence, not only how we think about the world, but, how we manage our money. And so we've learned certain lessons along the way about money, or maybe we didn't learn lessons about money, and that influences, just those decisions that we make, whether they're good or bad.
Yeah. Hopefully good, more good than bad. But it's so true. It's so true. And, even though what I do has nothing to do with money, really, it's something that I'm passionate about as well. I feel like I would love to see more financial education. So, and in my business, I help people flourish in their work. And so let's say I'm successful at helping a client feel fulfilled at work, but they go home and that income that they make at their job, they don't have access to the education or the resources to really do the best that they can with that income. So that's how the kind of connection is between our businesses. So we want people to be able to flourish both in their work and at home. And so I'm so excited to see where this goes. I know that we both have a passion too for like I said, kind of in the intro, helping our clients recognize their innate worth that they have. And one of the things that really stood out to me about your newsletter is there was a quote in it that said, your net worth is not your self-worth.
Yeah.
I think that's worth repeating. Your net worth is not your self-worth.
Definitely.
I just love that because, nobody is getting to the end of their life thinking about what balance they have in their bank account, not to be morbid or anything, but like that's not the kind of thing that we're thinking about, who we impacted and our family and things like that, and the legacy we're leaving behind. So I would add to that, I actually posted this on Instagram sometime last year that your job title is not your worth. Whether you're a manager of people and you've made it, whatever that definition is for you, is not your worth. So I love this concept, and I was just curious if you could share more about what happens when we get in this place of comparing ourselves to others, because if we're only looking at our own situation, it's a little easier to be happy with it. But once we start to look at other people and say, oh, they're better off, or they have this, or they have that, we start to compare ourselves. So what have you noticed with your clients when we start comparing ourselves to others?
Yeah, so and I put this into my newsletter too. It's like we've all heard the statement, comparison is the thief of joy, and so really, I think one of the biggest things that we do, and that's negative, is just comparing ourselves to what other people are doing. And then financially speaking, just the whole idea of keeping up with the Joneses, what is everybody else buying, wearing, spending, driving. We look on social media every day and we see, our friends, they're buying a new house, or they have a new car, or they're going on this great vacation. And so, sometimes that can make us feel really bad about ourselves. And so, just kind of keeping in mind that things aren't always what they seem. So if someone,
Mm,
buying all these fabulous things, or having all of these fabulous experiences, they could be in a bad financial situation,
mm,
or they could be really stressed out, maintaining this lifestyle. And so, so just, putting it into perspective, and saying that, maybe we shouldn't, kind of use that to influence our decisions and what we're doing, because, we could put ourselves in a bad situation to compare ourselves to someone else who's also in a bad situation. And so it just really, it's like this negative cycle. And so if we're more grateful and think about, what we have, and think about, just, just all of the great things, that the great people around us, the great experiences, the things that we can contribute, to this world outside of money, that really puts us in a better position to, to not have those things affect us.
mm. So well said. And it came up the other day, and yesterday, I guess. It's been a long day. Yesterday in a book club that I'm facilitating, how when you get to a place where you have the thing, you have the company car, you have the whatever it is, where you feel like you made it. From what I know, not that I've made it, but from what I hear, that's not what makes you happy. You get there and then you realize that's still not, what you were seeking in terms of that fulfillment. So I love that example. And by the way, if anyone has any questions that's watching, I see we have a few people watching live. Feel free to submit those, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Or if you're watching later, feel free to comment, and we will make sure we get those answered for you. So thank you for that. I love it. So when we were talking the other day, you said you advocate for people's current and future selves. You just like dropped that line like it was no big deal, and I'm like, oh, that is so beautiful. I just absolutely love that you said that, and it is so powerful to me, because it really gets at this idea of helping people's whole self, work, home, legacy, future. I love that picture.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk some about how when we get to the end of our life, we're not really thinking about what's in our bank account, right? And so thinking about our future selves, whether we're leaders or we're working in a company, or maybe as parents, or depending on who the people are watching, we talk some about impact that we can have, and legacy that we can have, and the importance, especially as it relates to leadership. Can you just talk more about that? I just loved the comments you had around legacy and impact.
Yeah. And so, the biggest thing is I work with a lot of young professionals. So my clients are generally, people in their, 20s, 30s, and 40s, and they're in a situation where they make more than, their parents have ever made, or anyone in their family. And so it's just, there's a lot of pressure sometimes around that.
Mm,
And just, and, like we said, the pressure to keep up with other people and compare ourselves to what other people are doing. But with that income, at such a young age, my clients have a tremendous opportunity to leave a legacy, and to, not only with money, but also just teaching by example. And, if they have children, or if they have, friends or family members, they can, by doing things that are responsible with their money, saving responsibly for the future, but also, balancing that with enjoying for today, then they can really have like a lasting impact. Because it's not just about the money. You hear about people who inherit a lot of money, or they receive some big lump sum, and the money's gone because they didn't learn the lessons
mm,
that they needed to learn in order to make that money last. And so yeah, it's about, building a financial legacy, and having that money and those things that you can use to help other people, and make an impact, but also, leading by example.
mm. I love that. Yeah. And I've heard that it doesn't matter, how much you make or what you have, anybody, it depends. Well, let's see if I can say this eloquently. What matters is how much you have after your expenses, because
Yeah.
that could be zero at any level, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
People, yeah, I mean, I've talked to people who make, several $100,000 a year and they're living paycheck to paycheck. And,
yeah.
and then you hear about the teacher or the janitor or just, someone who's not making a lot of money. And then they pass away and leave all of this money, like millions of dollars to,
Hmm.
their schools or to their families or people that, that they care about. And so it really is, about, what are you doing to kind of have that balance? You want to enjoy your life today. You want to live in the present, but you also want to plan responsibly for the future.
Hmm. Oh, so important. And it's just, I just love it. It's just not something I ever thought I would that I would ever talk about. But it's so true. If you're fulfilled at work, and then you come home and you don't have, what you need and whatever that it looks like for you to be comfortable, then it spills over into stress, and then you're not having that fulfilled work when you go back into the office or wherever, however you do your work. So I guess very few people are going into the office these days with COVID. But anyway, I digress. So we hit a little bit on speaking of fulfillment at work. I know that's something we're both really, really passionate about, but come at it from completely different angles, which I love because, we're better together and we can kind of combine our thoughts. So, you know, we both have a lot of clients who have sort of this sense of dissatisfaction or lack of fulfillment at work. And I'm just curious, when you help your clients, what kind of satisfaction or fulfillment, what does that look like for your clients, and how do you help them find that from your perspective?
Yeah, so I work with majority tech employees. And so, just a lot of people, if you think about, tech companies, there are a lot of companies out there that, that do good things and really have an impact on the world. But, there's some companies out there that maybe not so much. And so I have clients, who work for, they might work for a company. They really, they're good at their job, like they don't have a problem doing it. They make great money. But at the end of the day, they don't feel like either within their work or within the company that they work for, that they're really fulfilled and that they're, having a great impact on society. And so we talk a lot about that. My clients are often very much purpose driven and kind of struggle with that idea of, I am really good at this job. I'm making really good money. I can use this money to build a legacy for myself and for my family and my future. But at the same time, I'm just not happy and fulfilled at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So how do we balance that? And then there's a couple of ways that we can do that. The first is, if they want to stay in that job just to use that money, as a tool for building a future, then we can find other avenues outside of work, whether it's, volunteering or finding other projects or things that they can do, to make themselves feel more fulfilled outside of work. I have other clients who, eventually want to change jobs. And so we
Mhm.
talk about, what does that look like? And do you want to change your career entirely, or do you want to stay within tech and move to one of those, what they call tech for good companies? And how can we, translate the skills that you have and into one of those positions? And then some clients, they might want to move into, the nonprofit sector or something that they're
Mhm.
more passionate about, but it might not make as much money. So, how can we take advantage of the income that you have now and really build up, for your future so that you can transition and work, in a job where you're making maybe half or third and still be okay financially. So we can kind of attack it from a lot of different angles. Uh, yeah.
I love that I feel like you just gave people hope that if they're feel attached to their position or the income, what you're giving them is permission to let go of that being the most important thing to them if they're not feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
Um, and that there are other ways potentially. I mean, I would assume to be able to kind of make up some of that income if that's important to you. Is there anything, I'm just curious, when you're working with clients who are going through a career transition, which I would imagine a few people watching maybe considering that. I mean, with being in the middle of a pandemic, we're all kind of rethinking a lot of things. So if anyone watching is thinking about or in the middle of a career transition, is there anything that you advise your clients on what to do to set up their finances or their situation to be more successful at that kind of transition?
Yeah, so there's two aspects of it. The first one is the financial piece. And so, of course, making sure that you have your emergency savings, that you have money set aside,
Mm-hmm.
to help you with that transition. Everyone should always have, at least 3 to 6 months of their living
Mm-hmm.
expenses set aside. So that would help, if there's some kind of emergency or something that comes up. But also if you have a job loss or if you want to transition.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of times people, might get laid off and they've been working really hard and they just want to take some time to, just to spend with their families or to reflect and think about what's the next step. So, having that money saved gives you the freedom to do that. So that would be the first piece. The second piece is really, just making sure that you're investing in yourself. So
Mm.
any job that you have, you always want to make sure that, you're learning as much as you can from, from what you're doing, and making sure that, you're continuing to pour into your education, into your skill sets, and those things that can translate from one job to the next, that you're really spending time on working on those things and getting better every day.
I'm writing down the quote, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
You're just as important as the bank account, if not infinitely more. And gosh, a good coach, a good, even a online class. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You don't have to go get a formal full degree. Any way to just invest time in yourself and in your education. I absolutely love that because that's something that anybody could do today. You could go take there are plenty of online, learning opportunities, and that's investing just one more little piece into your future and your legacy that you can leave behind and your fulfillment that you get at work.
Yeah, and even just, when I think about setting goals for each year, you want to make sure that you touch all the areas of your life, in addition to financial goals. If you have career, or professional goals, and just thinking about like your health goals and your family goals and relationship
Yes.
goals. But yeah, all of those things are important, and they really, make sure that you're fulfilled from all different angles of your life.
Yes. Both present and future, as you said. And that's what I love about our conversation today is that it really kind of gets at more than one aspect of a person and their work and their life. So I love this. So have an emergency fund. So let's say we have someone watching. So you said a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, which, gosh, we've all learned with COVID the importance of
Yeah.
not relying on any one job because you just don't know what in the world is going to bring us tomorrow. So let's say we have someone watching. Maybe they have some credit card debt. We all have been there. And they're wondering, where do I start? Is there anything I can do today? Maybe they feel a little intimidated by having that much in savings. Is there anything they can do today? Where do they start?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing is just, baby steps. And so, you don't have to, it is a little daunting to think, oh my goodness, how can I possibly save this much money? And even if you have a lot of debt, it's like, how can I possibly pay off this debt? And I'm drowning. But yeah, it's just little baby steps, and just start out with even your first $1,000, that you can save, and then work yourself up to 1 month, and just think about. I always talk to clients about when we first meet. We talk about what's important to them, and do they value experiences? Do they value things? And what are those core values that
Yep.
they have? What are those goals that they want to achieve? And then we take a deep dive into how they're spending their money. And ideally, you want those things to balance out. And so, if something's important to you and you're spending money on a lot of things that aren't important to you, let's see how we can shift those things. so that you're saving, and then you're also shifting to spend money on things that make you happy. So I mean, there's always a lot of what we call leakage. So, there's just a lot of little dollars here and there that kind of go out, and you don't even remember what you spent the money on. It's not that important at the end of the day. So everyone has those things. So how can we analyze those things, really think about it from a perspective of is this something that's important to me? How is this helping my future self? What am I giving up to make this purchase? And then from there, you can really make some big changes. And I actually had a client recently, and we talked at the beginning of the year, and she's like, I really wish I could save a certain amount of money. And I was like, I think you can do better than that. And she's like, I don't know, I've never saved that much in my life. And we got to the like halfway through this year, and she already met the goal. And
Wow.
yeah, and so like we're at the point where it's like, okay, we're going to double by the end of the year. And it's just making
Wow.
those little shifts, the little mindset shifts, and really just thinking about things from a different perspective.
What a great story. I mean, you just give us so much hope, right? Just believe in yourself and you can do anything. I know that sounds cheesy, but you just gave an example
Yeah.
of something that your client just did not even think was possible and then doubled it. Wow, what a powerful story. I wrote down, I love that you said, when you're making a purchase decision, how is this helping my future self? I love that. What a great litmus test.
Yeah. I say with any big purchase, just really, and even some of the little ones, just think about, what am I giving up for this? Or am I just, online shopping because I'm bored, or, why am I doing this? And just, just think about before you make a decision, maybe, take a day or two to think about it, or, really analyze it from that perspective. If it's just, if it's a want and not really a need, and if it's a want, is that like a want that's aligned with your values or what's most important to you?
Yeah, I love the idea you brought up of filtering this through your core values. I've never heard that concept applied to money. Maybe I just have not been in the right circles, but but I love that because if you get clear for both of our businesses, we try to help clients become clear on their vision, their why, their values, and it helps with filtering everything, I would say. I'm a little biased, but from a money perspective, if you're able to say, is this in service to my values, then it's okay to spend that. It's not that you have to be a penny pincher and never spend any money, but it just needs to be in service to something, to your fulfillment and to your values and to your family's values. And I love that because it just gives us peace to relax and spend on what we know is important to spend on.
Yeah, and I was just talking to a client. I think it was Friday about just there's a book called Happy Money, and it's the science of happier spending. I highly recommend that book. It's a quick read, and so when you think about, everybody thinks, oh well, I have to make more money, and I have to be at this level to be happy, or I have to do these things to be happy. And so science really says that once you make past $80,000, your life's not necessarily happier. And it's really about how can we actually change the way that we think about money and the things that we do to make our lives happier. And so one of the things talked about just paying for things in advance, and think about going on a vacation, and if your vacation's already paid for, if you have money set aside to cover like your spending while you're there, and all of your fun things that you're going to do, you're going to enjoy that vacation so much more than if you go on a vacation and it's last minute, you're putting it on the credit card, and then you come home and you're like, oh my God, I have to pay for this. So just little shifts like that just really can help you just make sure that you're doing things like in service to yourself.
The idea that we can all do small things every day is really wonderful. Because it can seem very daunting to get to your goals and have the courage to try, but it's really, I love what you said about it's just baby steps.
Yeah.
And I think you read my mind because I was going to ask you if you had any book recommendations. So there you go. Was it called Happy Money, you said?
Yeah, Happy Money.
Okay, so we'll drop a link in the description when I post this later, but just in case anyone wants to go Google it now, feel free. So there's your book recommendation. All right, so you got lots of great takeaways. You got invest in yourself. You got what did we say? Um, Comparison is the thief of joy. A book. I already said a book. Have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Set goals that align with your core values. So we got a lot of really good tips today.
Yeah, I can
And
give you
then I
another
guess,
recommendation too.
oh
Um,
yeah, please do.
yeah, another great one is called the behavior gap. So it's,
Okay.
and really
Behavior gap.
the definition of the behavior gap is like, the difference between the things that we know we should do and the things that we actually do. And so you think about,
Guilty.
I compare like fitness and finances a lot. It's like we all know the things that we should do to, stay in great shape and to, just to be, healthy. But, we still sit there and we'll eat pizza and we won't work out. We'll sit on the couch and, all those bad things. And so it's the same thing with money. I think we fundamentally know as people like that we're supposed to, spend less than we earn and save for a rainy day and just all of those, foundational principles. But sometimes it's so hard. And so, so just, figuring out how to close that gap is really the key to being successful.
Yeah, I'm curious. You have me curious now. I'm assuming you have, when you've helped clients close that gap, is it going back to our conversation about pointing back to their values, or how do you help people have the courage and the motivation?
Yeah, and I mean, it really is just having those initial conversations up front. And so when I first meet with clients, before we look at any numbers or anything analytical, we really do have a conversation about, their history, their money history, their experiences with money growing up, some of the, regrets that they have, some of the great decisions that they've made, and how they feel about those decisions. And so that kind of helps us to shape, what's most important to them. And so we can go back to that at any time that they, are
Mhm.
getting off course or off track. I can remind them, hey, you said this was important. And so, how can we make some adjustments here to make sure that you're going towards that goal that you want to have eventually.
I love that. Now I'm going to think of you as a coach.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just, accountability and partnership and just helping people, live their best lives.
Oh, that's a great additional tip is having an accountability partner.
Hmm.
I've heard that you should always write down your goals
Yeah,
and tell them to somebody, and that's why.
yeah, exactly.
So set a small goal, achievable, and tell someone what that goal is. There's a giant clock in my backyard. Okay. Tell someone what that goal is, um, and then you're more likely to really go for it because you know what you need to do. I think we
Yeah,
all know things that we could do today if we really thought deep down.
yeah.
But it's a whole other thing to actually do it and have someone there with you, cheering you on and watching you succeed. So I know that you're a great person to do that for so many people. Um, let's see. I don't think so. If anyone's watching and has any questions, definitely feel free to let us know as we wrap up here. While they're thinking, I guess I just for our last kind of segment here, wanted to go back to you made a comment, and I can't remember your exact wording, but it had to do with being intentional about spending and you know I'm a big believer personally that life is just way too short to spend it anything other than fulfilled and as happy as you can be. We all have ups and downs, but
Yeah.
going for that thing that um, you want to do and that those dreams.
Hmm.
So that requires a living intentionally. And I think we talked earlier about how every yes is a no to something else, and in an age where we're all very busy all the time, and there's so much coming at us, and it's so easy to just say, "Oh, sure, I'll do that. Oh, sure, I'll do that," but we're not really thinking. Just like with these purchase decisions, is this really going back to my values? Is this really in service of my current and future self? I'm gonna keep thinking about that. I love that image. So anyway, as we wrap up, do you have any other tips for people around how to live and thrive more intentionally?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing is like be aware of your surroundings. Just think about all the different ways that you're absorbing information, the people that you surround yourself with, just your current environment, and how that environment impacts, the way you think and the decisions that you make. So just having that awareness and making sure
Mm.
that you're, tuning out any distractions that are keeping you from reaching your goals or from being your best self. So that's one of the things. And then, just being clear on, what your goals are. What are your goals? What are your values? What are those things that are important to you? And then you can filter through that lens when you make, decisions about your life, about your money, your career, your partner, your friendships. So all of those things are super important. Practicing gratitude is another big one. Just if you can, even every day when you wake up, just think about, a few things that you're grateful for before you go to bed at night. Think about a few things that, that you're grateful for that from that day. That gives you the perspective that you need to stay grounded and to not compare yourself to others or do some of those things that, could keep you from reaching your goals. And I'd say the last one is probably, just to dream big. A lot of people don't, they have limiting beliefs and they don't think about, they don't think certain things are possible. Like my client who didn't think it was possible to save, a certain amount of money and, just or to reach certain goals. And, people are like, oh, I can't even think about what retirement means because the idea of ever being able to retire is just, that's just foreign to me. So yeah, just being able to dream big and then making sure that you're doing those things to have those habits in place to get there.
That's so great. Wow, what a way to end. That was really powerful. I was reading a book last night that suggested writing down, just referring back to what you said about what's holding you back. So I found it really helpful. We all have fears. We all have subconscious beliefs that we may not realize are informing the way that we act, maybe from our childhood or, whatever past experiences. We all have these things. And so really just getting out a pen and paper and just sitting there and writing down, okay, what am I afraid of or what's holding me back, is a really powerful tool that I found and gave me some great insight and highly recommend that. So I will add that for what it's worth to your really fantastic list that you just gave. I'm going to have to watch this back and write down all those tips. That was good stuff. So thank you for sharing your time and your just heart and just for who you are and the people that you help. I know you make a lot of impact on people's lives. And so thank you for the work that you do. And if people want to hear or learn more about you or your business, what's the best place for them to go? Would that be your website or where can they go to learn more about you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, if you go to at Financial Staples on Instagram, I have a link tree, and so it has all of my links to my website,
Perfect.
my social media accounts. But I'm also on Twitter and Facebook. It's at Fin Staples. Yeah, and then my website's financialstaples.com. But there's also a link on the link tree if you wanted to join my newsletter. So I know that's kind of what started this conversation. But I try to give, just financial tips and inspiration, just little takeaways that you can use, practical things that you can use to help yourself.
Yep, highly recommend. I did not expect to see such great advice and wisdom about life in a financial newsletter. So y'all definitely sign up. It's worth it. And it's so good to have you, Chloe. Thank you for spending your time today on here. And
Yeah.
I personally look forward to watching the recording back. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Bye.